everyone, the Manly Stanley Stanpai here with my Sony E3 2017 recap and impressions video. This year for E3, Sony brought a lot of the same compared to last year's presentation. Opening with Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, we get a new Uncharted title coming out this August. Then a new Horizon Zero Dawn. The Frozen Wilds, which is also going to be coming out in the future. Finally, we got Days Gone. Now, for those who remember it from last year, this was the game that looked a lot like The Last of Us with open-world zombie survival, with a lot of zombies on screen. We got to see a nice extended gameplay presentation of this game, and after it was all said and done, we got a good idea of what some of the gameplay looks like. Additionally, it looks like the game has a lot more than just those, simple pre-scripted events, but you can really choose how you go about your way. Definitely worth checking out if you're into those massive zombie horde kind of games. So after Days Gone, Sean Layden takes the stage, and he talks about a lot of different things, including how they have something similar to like a Nintendo Treehouse going on for Sony at E3 this year. He then references a game that has a fanatic fan base, a rabid fan base from around the world, and we get to see a trailer. Now this game starts off, and all I could think right off the bat is, wow, this looks like Monster Hunter, but it's really pretty. Why does this look like Monster Hunter? This is way too pretty to be Monster Hunter. Is it Turok? Monster Hunter Worlds gets shown off for the first time during the Sony press conference, and my mind is honestly blown, because I cannot have imagined that a Monster Hunter game would look so good. Honestly, just the visual beauty of Monster Hunter, because it's always been so silly and fun. But this game looks gorgeous, and it just doesn't feel like Monster Hunter because of that fact. In any case, I'm gonna, withhold my verdict on it, other than I'm excited because it's Monster Hunter, and that's a great franchise, as my friends helped me learn for myself. So speaking of hunting giant monsters, we then get an unexpected remaster for Shadow of the Colossus. Now, we don't know if there's going to be any new content. I personally would like to see those cut colossi that are still in some of the beta files actually be used and fought against in part of the gameplay. Because this game's already been re-released. On the PS3, it was remastered once. And I don't see a reason to do this again, so they better be giving some new content, because otherwise this is just kind of getting out of hand. Anyway, moving on from Shadow of the Colossus, we then go into Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Now, this is a game that has a lot of different characters from the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise, and we get a nice little, cinematic to showcase what's going on in the story. As many people have critiqued, and I definitely feel you on this, the characters, as far as the human models, do not look all that great. But a shout out to Ruben Langdon, got to see some Dante, which is always cool. So, thanks for that. But, yeah, I mean, it's Marvel vs. Capcom. The leaks have kind of messed with the game's overall presence, but people kind of know things that they shouldn't know, and either way, cool. Marvel vs. Capcom. Moving on. Call of Duty. World War II. So, it's been a few years since we've had a Call of Duty game take place in World War II, but honestly, that's really where the series comes from, and a lot of old first-person shooters were all about World War II. So we got a nice extended trailer showcasing some of that new Call of Duty gameplay that's, more of the old Call of Duty gameplay. Nothing wrong with the series, just, it's Call of Duty. It's World War II. We're going back to the basics. Moving on. So the next part of the show is PlayStation VR. And because people just can't get enough of it, here's more Skyrim. So, yes, there we go. Elder Scrolls V Skyrim in virtual reality. PlayStation VR. The next thing is Star Child. I don't know what it is, but it exists. Then there was Sanatorium, which is another game that's, a psychological, ooh, spooky. You're some kind of inpatient or whatever. I think that's the title, Sanatorium Inpatient. But anyway, that's a game also on PSVR. The next thing, though, Final Fantasy 15! It's a fishing game. It's Final Fantasy 15. Fishing Fantasy 15. I'm actually cool with that. I don't have any objections. Monsters of the Deep, Final Fantasy 15, Monsters of the Deep. It's all about fishing. So if you and your bros want to go fishing now that you're done with your road trip, I've got news for you, buddy. So yeah, that's a new thing. The last two games used to round out the VR discussion are Bravo Team, which is a first-person shooter that honestly doesn't get much from me. Namely because, when you're showcasing a very basic-looking first-person shooter for a VR platform, the only reason it's going to stand out is because of that VR aspect, but a trailer that's shown in a non-VR setting does not do anything to entice me or show me why this game is different. So, sorry Bravo team, get me with a demo, you're not going to get me with a trailer. The last thing they showed was an adorable game called Moss. Now, if you're into little adorable mice, or like the movie Stuart Little, this might be the game for you. It's a VR game where you're a tiny little mouse going through a little mouse adventure. It's really cute. Anyway, super precious. It's definitely worth watching at least the trailer. It's just a cute little mouse. He's adorable. Anyway, so that's the end of the PlayStation VR discussion, and then they move back into something we all remember. Yes! God of War. God of War, once again, just like last year, we get to see more of it. And I don't have a problem with it. It's just, this game was already confirmed to be kind of like a reboot of the franchise, so it's not really God of War. It just has the same characters and some of the same gameplay mechanics, but it has a bigger focus on a cinematic presentation, and for me, God of War is all about that fast-paced, really smooth, violent, visceral gameplay. This has some of that, but honestly, it doesn't really feel like God of War in the same capacity. It's going to tell a good story. I'm sure that's going to be the case, because it's a game that's coming out on a Sony platform, and that seems to be what they're all about these days. And this kind of brings me to a little side point that I'll address more later, but everything kind of looks the same across these different games, as far as the lighting and the textures and just the overall atmosphere for these third-person action games. We'll talk more about that at the end. Following God of War, we get an interesting title that we got to see last year, very briefly. Detroit: Become Human. This is a game where you get to make multiple choices and reshape what outcome you have for your story. We got to see a different scenario than we did last time, where different things played out. And this one, rather than last time's detective story, was more of like a, hey, we're revolutionaries, here's how we're going to play this one out. So, if you're looking forward to having a multi-branched gameplay experience, David Cage, I believe, there you go. After Detroit: Become Human, we get to take a look at Destiny 2. Woo! I don't care. I do not care about Destiny. I'm sorry, I've tried. It doesn't hold me. Exclusive PlayStation 2 items and gear that is gonna become useless in the first expansion, because that's how gear works in Destiny. I'm not impressed. It's Destiny, it's popular, it's whatever. Moving on. The finale, right? So Sean Layden comes back on stage, and he's got one last game to showcase. Now at this point, I remember thinking, this is the end of the conference? That's it? That's all we get this year? And then they show the final game. It's Spider-Man. So Spider-Man is obviously a Sony property with Sony Pictures, but, I mean, looking at the game overall, looks good. It's a solid Spider-Man game, right? I mean, I saw some things I didn't completely like about the web swinging and moving around and platforming, but the thing that stuck out to me the most was honestly Yuri Lowenthal's voice for Spider-Man. Did not really think he was perfect. I thought he was okay, but I think they could have done something better, because it was really just generic Yuri Lowenthal voice, and Spider-Man needs something a little different. But the gameplay was cool. I'm Spider-Man, doing Spider-Man things, swinging around. As far as an end of show, I don't think it really brought something to the table that was worth being the end of show for Sony, but that's what they went with, and that's what they've got. So that concludes the Sony E3 2017 press conference, and what we get is a long view of Spider-Man, followed by a montage, followed then by, hey look, Miles Morales, he's in Spider-Man, Miles Morales, hey, you guys know who that is, right? You follow Spider-Man, right? So yeah, Spider-Man's gonna be cool. As far as Sony's overall presentation, they did okay. They didn't really bring anything I cared about that much. I didn't think that the show really showed a lot of diversity either. Whereas other shows had a lot of different kinds of games, different platform experiences. You have a lot of the same with Sony. They found a format that works, which is, over-the-shoulder third-person camera with a kind of gritty filter, and character models that are pretty photorealistic and human, with gameplay that features, sneaking around your environment or doing this with a cinematic overall presentation and a gripping narrative. That is Sony in a nutshell, and I just use that description I just gave you could be used to describe anything from Uncharted to The Last of Us to Days Gone to even the new God of War. And this is kind of something I'm frustrated with about Sony, because they're not bringing me anything new. They're not innovative at all with these titles. These are just continued more of the same. I don't know what makes this game stand out from that game, why it's a new experience, and that's what I want. I want a new gameplay experience. I want something innovative. I don't want more of the same just because it works. So, that's my feeling about the Sony presentation this year. I think it was kind of underwhelming because they've brought it in the past, but you know, there was very little love for their for their Eastern market as well. And I mean, I like anime and stuff. Microsoft did a better job at showcasing anime stuff this year. So I mean, that says a lot. There's really no appeal to the Eastern market, and you know, Sony did okay. Like, they did fine. It wasn't too long of a presentation, but the stuff that they showed along the way just wasn't stuff that really stood out as, hey, this is something new and exciting from Sony. Play in our system. I'm expecting more exciting things from Tokyo Game Show, honestly, and that's not just because I'm into Japanese niche titles, but because it won't all just be Western, gritty, gripping narrative with a dramatic story and context-sensitive environments, and, oh no, my character's significant relationship person has died. Enough. Enough of the same thing. No more rehashes, please. Now, I know I like other systems, I like Nintendo stuff, but at least the new Mario looks innovative. Anyway, that's my Sony 2017 E3 recap impressions video. Please do let me know what you thought of Sony this year. If you like what you saw, let me know. If you agree with me, definitely let me know there as well. And of course, be sure to check out some of the other different recap videos I've done for E3 here on my channel. Who did it best? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, this is the Manly Stanley Stanpai, and that was my E3 2017 Sony recap and impressions video. Thank you for watching.